This is a lock off the hood door of an English long case. It's a London clock in walnut from around 1740. It's very similar to the bracket clock one. The only difference is that you don't need a key to lock it. It works like a latch. So the keep, which is a different shape again, which is like that, it's just hammered into the case, just pushes through and it just clicks shut, and then you need the key to unlock it. I think I've seen these on bracket clocks as well. It doesn't really matter, you can put that on a long case if you wanted to, but it's just a different type of lock. So I'm going to make one of these. The spring is a brass one, but I'm going to do the same as I did with this and make one out of clock mainspring and just put a bit of brass on the end. I've started by marking out the back plate. This rectangle is for the keep to go through and the latch goes there. The 4 punched holes in the corners are for the nails. It would have been nails rather than screws at this period. That's for the post for the key, and that's the pivot point for the latch, which I've already cut. That goes that way. It's easy enough to do, just a piece of brass and just fret it out. Drill the hole first, it's easier. That's 2.5mm, and the hole that I put in here will be 1.5. So I've already made the pin that holds it. So a small bit at the end, which is 1.5, will go into there and be riveted on, and it'll be up to that shoulder, so that it won't grip the latch, so it'll stay loose, and it'll be cut off there. I'm probably going to move the key post up slightly higher. I know I've punched it, but it doesn't really matter, but I might just put it about there. It just gives less strain on the key when you're using it, rather than it pushing quite low down. It just makes it a little easier. I mean, that's worked well for nearly 300 years, so you can't really knock it. This is my spring, piece of clock mainspring. I've put a bit of lead solder on the end, and that's just a piece of brass that's been bent over. I'll just feed that in there, crush it in the vise, heat it up to melt the solder, and then file it up. I've wrapped the brass around the end of the spring and soldered it on, and all I need to do now is cut the end off down there, and 2 little shoulders so that it sits right on the plate. So that's the spring finished, ready to go into the back plate. So that's the square cut out, and the holes have been drilled. Cut the slot for the spring and pop that in, and I've just used the key post to hold the latch on, just to check that it works, and it seems to work fine. This is the little bridge that supports the top of the latch, and I've cut the little slot for it here. The only thing left to do now is on the latch itself. I need to file a radius on the back to make it work. That's the bridge piece in position, and what it also does is it works as a stop for the latch. I've filed the back of the latch, and that's all the pieces completed. So all I need to do now is clean this ink off, assemble it, rivet the backs over and then file the back off. So before I rivet in the post and the pivot pin, I countersink the back just a fraction, just so when it's riveted over it holds a lot better. I've riveted everything on except for the spring. This was so I could check everything worked properly. It was a little bit tight at the top and the latch needed a bit more taking off. And because the spring still comes out, I can still file away at that point. And I also had to take a bit off there to make it work smoother. So now everything's fine, I can actually rivet the spring in. That works fine. So that's the lock completed. It's a bit fiddly, but it's not that difficult to do when it's finished.